Hi, this is Bob from Hobby Concepts, and today in this video I'm going to show how to install an MFC in a globe liner. Tamiya's instructions on this are pathetic because I don't think they really knew how, and so I'm going to show how to do it and still have a full interior. This truck has a driver figure and a little console, and still everything fit in the back here. It turned out really nicely. So I'll show step by step how to do that. Now I'm not going to specifically build the whole truck. This is all about installing the MFC. This truck I built specifically for this video, and I'll talk about it a little bit as we go because it turned out beautiful. But it's all about installing an MFC in a globe liner. On a side note, YouTube is taking control of the advertising a little more starting in November and the first part of November, so you might notice more ads. I don't have control over it like I used to. Not much I can do about it, so just, grin and bear it. Anyway, MFC in a globe liner, let's get started. Alright, so this video is not going to be a video about building a truck. It's going to be installing the MFC in a globe liner in a way where we can still have the interior, and just how to do it, because Tamiya instructions about it are very vague. So I needed to build a globe liner, so I built this one. And you can see that I don't have the bumper on it, I don't have the roof lights on it, I don't have the rear bumper on it. The coupler is not attached. I did build the coupler. Get this out of here. I did build the coupler and installed a servo operated coupler. I have a separate video on that. The reason I did that ahead of time is I wanted to paint the deck. You'll notice on this truck that I stripped all the chrome. The tanks, the wheels, the steps, the bumpers, the visor. I stripped every bit of chrome on it and painted it all in gunmetal. And I did that just because I thought it would look good on this truck. And it actually looks really, really good. Even the grill, stripped the chrome, painted it with gunmetal, blacked out the wipers, and used, this is Tamiya's metallic orange, which is just my favorite new color. Really turned out nicely. So anyway, the video is going to be about installing the MFC in this truck. So I only have the body mounted with 2 screws. I only have the floor plate mounted with 2 screws. I'm going to pop those off. And then we're going to get into how to fit the MFC in the truck. Now I've already unboxed the MFC, mainly because I needed the coupler switch, but the MFC's here. I assembled the vibration motor, and so I've got all the normal parts that you would use. So I'll pop the body off, and then I'll show you how to install an MFC so you can still have a complete interior. So here's the globe liner with the body off, and Tamiya in their instructions tell you to put the MFC here, but they don't tell you how, and they show the vibration motor underneath it and the receiver underneath it. So I don't know, taping the MFC to the vibration unit just doesn't make any sense to me. And then they show the speaker box here. And I think their theory is just leave it loose so you can get the battery in and out. I don't know. And the speaker they show here, but you have to cut off the mounts for the seats. None of that works. It just doesn't work at all. So here's how I do it. Okay, I mount these vertically right here. Okay, it works great. It leaves lots of room, and as you can see, the seats are intact. So how do you do that? Okay, the way I do it is I build little, I take a piece of 1/2-inch aluminum bar, I put a 90-degree bend in it, I'm going to drill a hole here and bolt it down, one on each side. And then I'm going to tape this to those bars. I'm going to mount the vibration motor here on this side, and for the speaker box I took another piece of this 1/2-inch bar. It's 5.5 inches long and 2 inches high with a little tab on the end, and I'm going to bolt it right here and then tape the speaker box to that bar. Now I can still get the battery in and out just fine, plenty of room, and that mounts this down solid. And with this mounted up here, there's plenty of room to reach all the plugs, and I can make a plastic panel to go behind the seats that hides everything. And I can tape it. I'll tape the MFC to one side, and I'll tape the plastic panel to the other side. So let me go ahead and mount these two things down. I'm going to pull this off, drill some holes, and bolt them on. So here's my my deck. I mounted down the vibration motor. I mounted these two angle brackets, and I mounted this bracket for the control box. I used just the standard Tamiya bolts and nuts. They give you a bunch of extra ones with the MFC, and of course use Loctite on them because the vibration motor can be hard on that stuff. So now what I'm going to do is mount this on the truck again, because the transmission sticks up a little way, and the MFC will tape on like this. You can see there's a lot of room here underneath, and raising it up like this makes it easier to get the plugs in and out. The wiring here clears the top of the vibration motor just fine, and on the other side of it I can mount a nice back panel. So let me bolt this in the truck, and then we'll tape these on. What I'm doing here is test fitting a piece of plastic cardstock, and you can see that I've cut it so it fits over the motor. I just temporarily stuck it on the back of my two metal uprights. I just wanted to test that everything worked, that the seats fit fine, and they do. I put the body on, and it clears the body by about 3/8 of an inch up here at the top, which is good because I'm going to actually mount my speaker back in here too. So yeah, this looks great, and the windows are all in front of this, so when you look in, all you're going to see is this bulkhead. I don't like this motor here, so I'm going to build a little motor box, but in reality you don't even need to do that. You really have got it covered pretty well, but I am going to build a little motor box for that. I'm going to paint this in probably black, just so that it kind of goes away, and then we'll get to work on actually installing the MFC. It's time for me to start doing the wiring in the chassis. So I'm doing the bumpers here. The bumpers are easy. The back bumper, the lights just push in, and then this little cover just screws over it. So that's pretty simple. Same with the front bumper. But I like to get these wires run through the chassis before I mount the MFC. I can tie them up better. This one, the bulb is held in by this little clip that comes with the MFC parts. And same thing, the screw holds it on. So now these bumpers are ready to install, and I can pull the wiring up. My plan, of course, the front bumper is to just pull the wire up through here. So all the wires will come up in this area right here. The back bumper, I will pull the wiring up. I will slide it along the side of the transmission case and then pull it up through here. And I will wrap it in spiral wrap. I'll show you that as I'm doing it. And then of course this will mount, and so these wires and these wires will combine. I'll get everything pulled up through here, and then I can mount down the MFC. When routing the wires, I find it easier to use the spiral wrap before I actually install the bumper. And what I'll do is use one of the little Tamiya tie wraps here to kind of just tie this together. And then I'll put the spiral wrap on, and I'll pull it forward it'll look like that. And what I'm going to do is pull it forward enough, the spiral wrap, so that it's equal to where these wires come here. So I'll pull it forward to about here. Then I'll feed the wire through, and then I'll add these other ones into it. So I'm gonna pull this up to here, bolt the bumper on, and then I'll come back when I'm ready to do the next part. So I've pulled the wires up here, and I've showed this before. Now I've joined the green wire from the coupler switch plus my servo wire in, and I'll just continue to wrap the spiral wrap around all of it. One of the reasons I like this spiral wrap is you can bring wires in at any point or pull wires out at any point. So when I'm doing complicated trucks that have maybe lights and stuff in here, I can pull them in wherever I want. So I will continue to wrap this. I'm going to need a servo extension, and as I said, I will run this in this channel behind the frame and then up alongside the motor, and while I'm at it I'll bolt the front bumper on and run the wires up for that, and then I'll have all my chassis wires up in the right place. So now I've got all my chassis wiring pulled up, so the bumpers, the coupler, and I can attach my bulkhead. Will go like that. So I've got some double sticky tape on here, and I can tape that on. Yeah, that looks great. And I can screw my seats back on. There's room to get up underneath here with a screwdriver. And then I can go to work and start to place my MFC in my receiver. So I will get some double sticky tape on those, and there's enough room underneath here for the receiver right there, and I will put the wires in this box and put the panel on it, and there's room for that there, and the speaker will go right there. And I'll talk about the speaker as I put that in, but then I've got everything nice and tightly organized behind the cab. The best part is I don't have to unplug the speaker or the switch box to remove the body. So the only wiring that will plug in will be the wiring from the roof lights and the turn signals, and then I'm actually going to probably put a beacon on this. So I will put the wires in this, and then we'll talk about this in a minute. I know this doesn't specifically have anything to do with the MFC, but I made a little console just out of some plastic cardstock, which I will glue in here. I've got a little dog to sit on the passenger seat. And I put together a driver figure which I will paint. So that's the neat thing about installing the MFC this way, is you can have a nice cab. So, okay, back to the MFC. What I've done here is plugged everything in to test it. I'm big on testing before I actually mount stuff. So I put the decal on the control box. I plugged in the speaker and the vibration motor. I plugged the control box in. I plugged in all the chassis wiring, and I plugged in the receiver the normal way. You can see I've got 2 extra wires here. Channel 6 I've got to a servo extension because that'll go to my beacon, and then channel 7 I've got plugged into the servo on my coupler. So now I'm ready to go ahead and install this. Plug the speaker here. So I will go ahead and get some double sticky tape on here and mount this down, and then I will go to work on cleaning up this wiring and mounting the receiver, which will go down here, and mounting the control box. So that's just going to take a little bit of fiddling around. I'll plug in the motor wires and kind of clean up some of this stuff, and then we'll see how that looks. Boy, there's a lot of Winston's hair on here. Okay, Winston's hair shows up really good on gunmetal. That's just a note to myself. So the last thing to mount is the speaker, and I'm going to just use double sticky tape and tape it right to the bracket like that. Now I could just tape it up there, but being kind of the nerd that I am, I wanted to make a speaker box for it because it does sound better with a box. So this is just 1-inch high sheet plastic that I glued on with this E6000 glue. I made a bottom here I'm going to glue on, and you can see the speaker magnet still sticks up a little bit past that, so I can still stick it down with double sticky tape. So I'm going to glue this on and let it dry, and then tape this down right here. It'll be touching this box, it'll be touching the MFC, so it'll be taped here, here, and here, and it clears the side, it clears the back. You can still get the battery in and out, and you can see the whole MFC is mounted in there pretty neatly. So I will get that done, and then we can put the lighting in the body. Well, I've got the speaker on, so basically I've got the entire MFC mounted. You can see this is my tail to plug in my beacon. My roof lights will plug in here. My turn signals will plug in here, and I can reach those just fine. I've got my control panel mounted. It's very solid. My speaker's mounted. It's very solid. Got a little speaker box built around it. I should cover those holes with a piece of tape. I will do that. I taped my antennas up here on top so they would be out of the way. My vibration motor's mounted here. And then I've got a nice blackout panel behind the seats to hide it. So when you have the cab on, you will not see any wiring or any mechanism at the seats here. I'm slowly painting on a driver figure, which I will get done here in a little bit and mount. So there we go. That's the actual MFC mounting. Now I will do the roof lights, and I want to show in the turn signals, and I want to show how to hide those up underneath so that when the body's on, you won't see any wiring. You know, if you go to a truck show or something, and if you got a bunch of wires showing in your cab, that's a no-no. You don't want to have anything showing. So there we go. That's how that's looking so far. On to the body. So I'm going to talk about hiding the wiring in the cab roof. And the way I do it is with a plastic headliner. So I cut a piece of plastic that fits up inside here, and I taped it in, and then I drilled 2 holes down through the top, and the holes were already in the top, because what they do is they have a little tab on the visor that you're supposed to glue into the hole. Well, I hold my visors on with screws, so I drilled through here, drilled through the visor, and then drilled through my headliner. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use these longer 2mm bolts that came with the MFC, and I'm going to bolt the visor on, and I'll put a nut on it. And then later, after I do my wiring, I will slide this over the studs that are now sticking up and put another nut on there, and that will hold this in, and there will be a gap in the back where the wiring will come out, and the wiring will be very nicely hidden up in the top. It won't hang down, you won't be able to look up and see it. I'll just paint this with gray primer. So that's how I hold the wiring on, or hide the wiring, headliner. So I'll paint that, I'll mount this, and we'll see how that looks. As I start to install the lights in this body, I just want to show you a little trick that I use, and that is you can't fit these LEDs through the hole here. So you have two choices. One would be to cut and clip the LED, or the other would be to make the hole bigger, but neither of those work good for me. So what I like to do is actually remove the plug. It's very easy to do. What I do is I mark it with a Sharpie on the dark lead, so we know where it goes, and then with an X-Acto knife you just lift this little tab, bend it up a little bit on both sides. It's pretty flexible. You don't want to crank it way up though, you'll break it off. And then the leads just pull out, and then you just push the little tab back down with the knife. Okay. Now you can slide the leads through the hole in the body just fine. The LED won't fit through, but that's okay, we don't need it to. And then you just snap the leads back in. We'll start with the darker color here. And that's all there is to it. So now I've got my lights through the holes. You can't do that with this lead for the two outer lights, because taking it off would do no good, because there's two leads soldered on here. So with that one, I just clip the edge off the LED on both sides with my clippers, and then so now it's flat on the sides, and then I can get it up through this hole. Sometimes it takes a little bit of cleaning and shaving, might even have to sand it a little bit, but you can work it up through like that. So now all I have to do is mount these light housings. You can see I also stripped those and painted them. So I'll go ahead and get those mounted. Now you can do the same thing. I'm going to put this rotating beacon up here in the top, and you can actually do the same thing with that. So I'll mark the side that's got the dark color here, and it has a little tab that lifts. And you can pull out the lead. So I'll do the same thing. I'll pull the three leads out, put them down through here. I have to drill two little holes, because this has got two little bolts that come up from the bottom, and that way I can pull it down without having to enlarge the hole. I'd have to make a huge hole to get that to get that thing through. So I'll go ahead and pull that through too, and I'll mount these lights and mount my turn signals, and then we're close to having this MFC all done. So there you can see my wires all installed. My turn signals are here. I tied everything together so it's just one string for the roof lights, and then of course my beacon, which I bolted on. So now I've got my headliner, and you can see my studs down in here sticking up. So this is just gonna drop over those studs. Like that, and I'll put a little piece of tape on the back edges on each side. I'll put a nut on each side there, and that'll hold the headliner up. And so now from outside, no wires. So I'll get that on, and gosh, I can plug those in and put the body on. Oh, one thing while I'm thinking about it, I had to make a little relief notch in my speaker box because this stud sticking out right here needed to fit in it to make this fit. So it wasn't a big deal, but if you didn't make a speaker box, it wouldn't matter. But anyway, I had to cut that out, and so now the body will fit on just fine. Well, there we are, all finished. I got my driver in there, and my little dog, and my Cokes on the console. It looks really nice. I know you're not going to be able to see in there with the camera, but it's so nice to have a full interior in these, and that bulkhead does the job perfectly. You can see I've got my lights mounted. I mounted my little strobe. The horns also, the chrome was stripped. I think this really looks good with the chrome stripped. And strip the wheels, of course, fuel tanks, exhaust. You can see here the control box, very easy to access. And let's fire it up here real quick. Now I don't have the volume all the way up. Close this up here. Okay, so typical MFC operation, we have our roof lights, our headlights, our fog lights, of course turn signals. That works really good. I've got my beacon here on this switch, which goes through different functions. Or off, and my transmission, of course, is on this switch. Should be. I love those 55 turn motors. You can have really nice low speeds. So yeah, I installed my diamond plate with double stick tape. It's painted metallic gunmetal. The bumper, of course, was stripped and painted gunmetal. So, yeah, nice looking truck. Again, the main purpose of this video was to show how to install an MFC. Yeah, it's going to keep beeping at me. Let me just pop this off. How to install an MFC in a globe liner and still have an interior. And so we just used the stock parts, and yeah, it worked really well. So that's how you do it. The MFC is a great little unit. It's pretty easy to install, and I'm going to be doing a custom globe liner here one of these days too, and I'll probably put a buyer stuff in that just to kind of show you the difference in how I would install it. But I also did a custom globe liner a year and a half ago, and it has buyer stuff in it, including a sleeping deck and some other things. So I like globe liners. I really like how this the contrast between this metallic orange and the gunmetal and having the de-chrome look. I think that looks really good. It's kind of a tough looking truck. So there you go, installing an MFC in a globe liner. I appreciate you watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Love having you here. We'll continue to do more truck stuff and a few other things we'll throw in there along the way. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.